Hi guys, my name is Jeannie. Welcome back to my channel. So today I'm gonna do a review on the Ultimatum, the last episodes 9 and 10. I'm already laughing because I'm thinking, wow, it's crazy. I did not expect what was gonna happen to happen. If you're interested in seeing my thoughts about the marriage episode and the reunion, then keep on watching. And when the video is over, leave me a comment down below and let me know what you thought about the people who got married. Did you think they were actually gonna get married? Were there any surprises for you? And let me know what you thought about the reunion as well. Okay, so in the end of episode 9, Mal was getting ready to propose to Yoli. Mal is getting down on one knee. Yoli is there crying, talking about, I'm still in love with 2 people. That alone would make me never get down on my knee. I don't know what Mal was thinking. Mal was so worried about Yoli falling in love very quickly, but that's exactly what Yoli did. Yoli fell in love with Xander mad hard, like head over heels. Listen, if a girl is crying to me about another girl, we're broken up. I give kudos to Mal for handling that situation the way they did because she is better than me, because I would never. You're crying about another girl in front of me? No. No. Absolutely no. No. I mean, Mal is mature. I like to think I'm mature too, but not that damn mature. Not to be crying about another girl right in front of me and I'm gonna propose to you? For what? Figure that out. Like, figure your life out, go to therapy. I think everyone needs to go to therapy. Like, figure it out, go to therapy. Maybe we can get back together once you get your mind straight. But if you don't know that you want to be with me and only me, I'm not proposing something like marriage. Mal proposes and Yoli's face looks so unsure. She's so unsure. She's like, she pauses and she's like, yes. The yes was so hesitant. I wouldn't even have accepted the yes. If I was Mal, I would be like, no, you didn't mean that. Like, you could just tell that she wasn't in it. She was thinking about Xander. But there are things later on that make it kind of clear why Mal wasn't so sure about what was going on. But still, even the things that Mal saw in that very moment or before would have been enough not to go through with the proposal. I'm not really sure why Mal felt the need to do that. I'm shocked. I was shocked. Wait, I had a list written down before I watched the episode. Okay, for my list, I put down who I thought was gonna get married and who I didn't think was gonna get married. I put Mal and Yoli, no. And I put Yoli and Xander, yes. I really didn't think that she was gonna say yes. Then we're seeing her meet up with Xander, the true love of her life, right? Because we've seen in the show, she said the romance was missing with Mal, and we see the romance with Xander. They have romance, but romance is easier to have when you have a new relationship. You know what I mean? Like, you guys notice how whenever you get into a new relationship, you know, you're feeling all the butterflies and you're feeling like this is the best person in the world and you just have all this chemistry and all this romance. It's easy to do that when you first meet someone. Of course you're gonna feel that way about someone you just met, right? Versus someone you've been with for 3 or 4 years. The spark tends to fade later on down the line, but that's what the commitment's about. Like, that's how you know if you really are meant to be with someone, because you have to put in the work to keep it going. You can't just get into a new relationship every time the spark fades, and I feel like Yoli's that type of person. So they meet up and you can see the pain in Yoli's eyes. You can see that Xander really wants to take it there. Like when they were holding hands back in those other episodes talking about, let's do it, let's do this thing. Like, Xander was ready to really go there with Yoli, but Yoli also, before they met up with Xander, removed her ring. And I thought that was so dishonest. I'm like, why remove your ring? Why not just put on the ring and come as you are so that Xander can make the choices that she wants to make? Why don't you let her have all of the information? Like, Yoli likes to keep people in the dark so that she can decide what she wants to do and have the best outcome for herself, which is very selfish. Like, very selfish, Yoli. Xander is looking like they want to say yes. Yoli is looking like so torn. She just said yes to Mal, but it looks like she wants to take that yes back. Like, she wants to take it all the way back. I mean, she already took off her ring. She wants to take it back. And the way she's looking at Xander and crying and saying, I don't love Mal the way I love Xander. So you don't love the person that you just said yes to getting married to the same way as a person that you literally met like 4 weeks ago? Make that make sense, because it doesn't make sense to me. What? Like, Mal was 100% right. When they're walking away from the cameras, there's a point where you think that Yoli is gonna say that she wants to be with Xander instead, but I feel like she chooses the safer option. I don't think it's what she really wanted to do, because the tears say something different to me. Like, that amount of tears would, like, come on. You just said yes to the love of your life. You wouldn't be crying like that. That's how I feel. I don't know. It almost looks like she's gonna say, I want to be with you instead, but she doesn't ever commit to that with Xander. And Xander looks sad, but is understanding, and Xander is not trying to break up. If she's happy with Mal, Xander is respectful of that. I think Xander is such a respectful person. Like, Xander is like really a class act. I think at the end of everything, the person that I end up liking the most is probably Xander. Yeah, Xander's the most likable person. Like, the person that I really like the most, I think, is Xander for sure. Even when the producer asks Xander, do you think Yoli made a mistake today? Xander's like, no. Like, there's no cockiness in Xander. Xander's just like, I don't know, a really well-balanced person, kind of like Mal. Like, they accept what's happening and they try to like leave their ego to the side, which I really appreciate. So the next couple, let me look at my notes. Hold on. Tiff and Mildred. So before I watched the show, I voted no. Okay, so let me tell you guys what happened. Okay, so Tiff and Mildred meet at the beach. I guess it's kind of sentimental for them, so she takes her to the water and they're kind of reminiscing over it. And they're kind of talking about the struggles that they've had in their relationships. And I'm thinking, yeah, you guys have been struggling a lot. Mildred still looks like she wants to get married, even though she is admitting how much struggle they've had in their relationship. But it seems like Mildred is saying like, hey, we've been through a lot, but I've also learned a lot. So they're kind of just going down memory lane, but they both feel that the things they've learned in the trial marriage and the things they've gone through together is making them stronger together. And then before you know it, Tiff is down on one knee asking Mildred, do you want to be my wife? Will you be my wife? Will we get married? And of course Mildred says yes, because Mildred has just been waiting to be chosen this entire time, really needs that validation from Tiff and really needs that feeling that somebody loves her. And I'm like screaming at the TV like, no, what? No. No. I'm so mad because I'm like, my vote was no. I thought there was no chance. Like, there's no chance. I'm like, y'all are so toxic. How would you ever get married? In true toxic form, they said yes to being together, because when you're in a toxic relationship, it's really hard to separate from that person, even though you know it's not good for you. And I feel like they've convinced each other that the things that they've gone through are making them ready for a marriage. Actually, Tiff did learn some things in their trial marriage with Sam, but when they got back together, their trial marriage together was terrible. I don't see how a yes was happening there. I don't see how Tiff got down on one knee. But anyway, they said yes and they were happy, so who am I to ruin somebody's happiness, right? Okay, let's move on to the next couple. Sam and Aussie, which I'm obsessed with them. And if you guys watched my last video, you know why. What I put in my notes for Sam and Aussie was yes. I put that they were gonna get married. I just felt from Sam that Sam really wanted to be married, and I felt the same thing for Aussie. So I voted yes, and this is what happens. Basically, they meet up, they kind of talk about the struggles they've had in their trial marriage, and Aussie thanks Sam for being like a rock to her and always being there for her and acknowledging the fact that Aussie does run away from a lot of things. And Aussie feels that Aussie is ready to provide more of that stability and communication that Sam is looking for in a marriage. And then Aussie is talking about something about like a penguin, when they have to find like a rock and like this mating process, find a perfect rock to bring to the animal that they want to mate with for life. And they bring out this like heart-shaped rock, and Sam's looking at it like, oh, this is nice, but like kind of staring at it like, what is this? Like, what is this? And that was my expression too. I was like, Aussie, I know that you are not thinking that this little heart-shaped rock is in place of an engagement ring. And then I thought for a second they weren't gonna get married, because I thought it was gonna be like a promise rock or something. I'm like, does Aussie not want to get married? Is this like a I love you but not right now type of thing? But later on, Aussie pulls out a beautiful ring for Sam and asks her if she wants to get married. And of course, Sam says yes, and Sam looks really happy. I'm also thinking like, how could you guys get married? Like, what did you really fix between the last time that you guys saw each other and now? Like, I don't know. I'm like, to me, their relationship is still toxic because I feel like Sam is gonna end up being the person who's always taking care of Aussie mentally. And Sam is not a therapist. That's not her job. And I'm like, you wanna be married to that? Okay. I feel like people barely walk away and choose themselves. It's really hard to do that, especially when you've always thought in the back of your mind, like, I want to get married, I want to get married. And if this person is telling you, I'm going to work on myself, it's kind of hard for a person that wants to be married to say, no, I don't think this is going to work out. They want to see it through. Even though they know in their mind, they want to like confirm it by going through the process. You know what I mean? You know how your parents always try to get you to not make the same mistakes they made, but we never listen to them because we're like, no, we have to experience it ourselves. Like, I know what you're telling me, but this situation is different and I'm going to go through this. And even if it ends up bad, I think that Sam just wants to say, like, I tried. Xander and Vanessa. I put in my notes no for them getting married. Before I watched the show, I voted that they were not gonna get married because I really felt like Xander and Yoli were gonna get married. So they're having this talk. Vanessa writes Xander this long like love note before they even meet up. And Vanessa says something about, at first, Xander was the one to give me the ultimatum, but now it's like Xander is taking that choice away from me, and now I'm the person who wants to get married and is kind of vying for Xander's affection, which I think that's an interesting flip-flop because at first Vanessa was so cocky about the fact that they thought Xander wasn't going to leave them, and then Xander ended up leaving them basically. In this moment, it's like you kind of feel for Vanessa a little bit, but not really, because she deserves that. You know what I mean? She doesn't deserve to have Xander. She needs to work on herself and she needs to grow before she can have a partner like Xander. Vanessa's talking to Xander during this moment where Xander's kind of saying, like, I don't think that it's the right time for us to get married right now. And I feel like Vanessa's hoping that Xander's gonna change their mind, but Xander stays strong. Even through all the tears and the words that Vanessa's saying, Xander's like, you know, I don't think this is the right time for us right now. And I really respect that Xander stuck to their guns. Like, I'm not ready to get married to her. I'm not gonna say yes. Even if she says I love you so much and does all of her manipulative shit, like, I'm still gonna stick to my first choice, which is no, I don't want to marry you. But part of me also wonders if Yoli wasn't in the picture and if Xander hadn't really fallen in love with Yoli, would Xander be saying yes to Vanessa? Or did Xander just end up feeling like they weren't gonna work out? At the end, when they're walking away from each other, Xander does say, I don't think this is the right time for us now, if ever, because we weren't on the same page about marriage. And I feel like Xander feels like Vanessa wanting to get married isn't genuine. I feel like it's like what Vanessa's father said about Vanessa's ego kicking in and feeling like she doesn't want to lose Xander, and that's what's prompting her to want to get married. Xander probably thinks that it's not genuine and it's prompted by her seeing that Xander could actually leave but not really wanting marriage, because there's a good possibility that they could have gotten married and Vanessa would have been like, yeah, I still don't want marriage, I just didn't want you to go with Yoli. You know what I mean? So I'm really glad that Xander walked away from Vanessa. I think that was a really good choice. Claps for Xander. Okay, so I kind of like almost forgot about the last couple. By the time I finished watching all these other couples, I didn't even care about the last couple, which is Lexi and Ray. I put yes for Lexi and Ray before I saw the episode. I put yes, they will get married. They're sitting down, they're talking to each other. Lexi's in this like really nice colored peach dress and she looks great in it. I really like that color on her. Ray is talking about the reasons why they got into this mess to begin with, that basically they're a very unsure person. Ray goes on to talking about what they really love about Lexi, and it's this whole laundry list. You know, it's kind of cute. Some of the things are kind of insignificant, but it's kind of cute. They're just basically saying, love you, I love you, basically. But there's this like nervous look on Ray's face. I feel like Ray feels the pressure of the ultimatum and knows that they're gonna lose Lexi if she doesn't propose. I feel like she does love her, but I still don't feel the certainty from her in this moment. A couple of minutes later, she's like, with all of that being said, and then she gets down on one knee, shaking. I mean, people are nervous when they propose, I get that, but I feel like she's also nervous because she's still unsure. But Lexi is so headstrong that she knows that if she does not propose, they're breaking up, and I don't think that Ray wants to lose Lexi at this moment. So she proposes, and of course, Lexi says yes and is elated. A couple of moments later, Lexi gets down on one knee and also has a ring and says, will you marry me? Which I actually thought was so cute. I was like, yes, double proposal. I love it. There's a lot of like roles that people place on people in a queer relationship, and I love that they just kind of break all of that down and they're like, you can propose to me and I can propose to you too. We can both wear the ring. We can both be the people who propose to each other. And I think that's beautiful, and they looked cute and happy at the end, but there's still a part of me who's like, Lexi's sure, but Ray's not sure. And I feel like if you have a partner that's not sure and you get them to do what you want them to do by kind of forcing their hand, it's probably not gonna go in your favor anyway because they're unsure. It's best for you to just let that person be them, but you don't force them to do what you want. That never works. Let's see what happens in the reunion. Let's get into the reunion. The reunion starts off and everyone's just exchanging niceties, saying hi. First person that the host gets their relationship status is Ray and Lexi. It seems like Lexi and Ray are really happy at the reunion, and they're just talking about all the things that they've been doing since the show, and they've just been in a really good place. And of course the host brings up Fingergate. I'm like, okay, Fingergate. But I like how Lexi says like sex is different for every queer person, and what one person might consider sex, the other person may not consider sex, which is true. Like some people consider sex mouth stuff. Like some people consider it like a whole, I don't want to get explicit, but you know, there's different things for different folks. And for Lexi, that was a big deal. So they talked about it. And when they played the clip again, Ray is like crying, trying to hold back tears because they were so embarrassed about that situation. And I know that Ray knows that that clip being played again is probably gonna start like a little fight between her and Lexi, because Lexi could not forget about that moment. It's a point of contention in their relationship. So they pan to Vanessa, and Vanessa's actually apologetic. Like on this reunion, Vanessa looks pretty good actually. Like she's apologetic. She's owning up to her mistakes. She's saying, during that time when Ray was upset after we had sex, I was making all these jokes and I realized like, I don't need to be that person. Like basically she was saying what we could all see. Like she hides behind being funny or being bold and being the loudest person in the room, but she's like, I realized that I need to be more serious, which I appreciated that she said that. And she's like, I've stayed out of your guys' life and I hope that you can just forget about me. That's the best anyone could ask for. She was apologetic, she admitted her faults, and she didn't blame anyone else. So it's like, Vanessa, like, you know, we want to kind of like hate you for what you did in the beginning, but when a person grows, you kind of have to just understand that and say, well, I see that you've grown. You don't have to like her, but she's grown. The things she did during the show, definitely deplorable, but the fact that she can recognize that she made a mistake is at least one step. I'm not sure that Lexi really cared for her apology, but at least she made the effort to apologize. The host then talks to Vanessa and Xander. And as soon as they start talking, Vanessa and Xander, Vanessa's eyes start to tear up immediately. You can tell that Vanessa is so hurt from the breakup that they had, because she really thought that they were going to end up being married at the end of that experiment. And you could still tell because this reunion was filmed, I believe it was filmed a year after the entire experience. For Vanessa to cry that easily at the thought of Xander or seeing Xander in person, it's like, it lets you know that Vanessa's really still not over it, you know, because she's holding back tears immediately. So she's still not really over the situation, and she says, I love you. Like, I love you as a friend because I know that we would never be able to work out again. And that's like a sad place, but honestly, Vanessa had, what, 3 to 4 years with Xander? So it's like, who can really feel bad for you for fumbling that bag? You know, Xander's definitely a catch, and you fumbled it, sweetie. Like, what do you want us to say about it? You know, I feel a little bit bad, but not really. I mean, Xander's gonna find someone better for her, and Vanessa needs to move on with her life, continue to work on herself so she can be the best person for herself. And when she continues to do that, she's gonna meet someone that is aligned with her. That's why you shouldn't be selfish, you know? Anyway, while Vanessa's saying this, Xander is still saying, I don't regret my decision. I think I was really fixated on marriage, but what was gonna happen after the marriage? And Xander was like, I needed to choose myself and work on myself. And watching the show back, it was really clear to me that I needed to work on self-love. And I'm so happy that Xander realized that and really took the time to care about themselves. And honestly, like when you watch the show, there's times when you can see that Xander's a little bit unsure of themselves. And I think that Xander did really need to realize how much of a catch that they are, because if Xander really knew how cute, how caring and smart they were, they would not be thinking that their best option is Vanessa. You know what I mean? Like, when you really think of yourself highly, you don't go for lowest hanging fruit. I'm not saying that Vanessa's the lowest hanging fruit, but you know what I mean, right? Okay, so let's talk about Mal and Yoli. First of all, can we talk about how fine Mal looked in that little periwinkle blue shirt? Please, with the little flower, looking so romantic. Oh my God, be still my aching heart. Mal is too fine. Please, get that girl off my screen, please. Ugh, it's not fair. They're talking to Mal, and Mal is like, you know, they're like, where's your relationship status with Yoli? Because last time we saw them, Mal was down on one knee proposing to Yoli, and Yoli said yes. So we're expecting them to still be together, right? But she says, no, we're happily broken up. And I'm like, ooh, happily broken up? Like, what happens? Mal basically says the way that they handle conflict is not sustainable for a relationship, and I didn't want to continue a relationship that way, which is totally understandable. Anybody that you're with, you want to be able to handle conflict in a constructive way. The crazy part to me is that Yoli said it was 2 weeks after, I think 2 weeks after filming or 2 weeks after vacation. Within those 2 weeks, Mal was like, we're done. I'm like, how could it be that quick? Like, you guys said you want to spend this is what I don't get. How do you guys go from wanting to spend the rest of your lives together to something happening and then, oh no, I never mind, I changed my mind. This is why I feel like people that sometimes when people want to get married, they just want to get married for the F of it, honestly. Like, they just want to get married for the hell of it, because it's like, if you really want to get married, how are you breaking up within 2 weeks? You did not want to get married. Neither of them really wanted to be married. I think Mal was throwing a last-ditch effort because Mal didn't want to get left by Yoli, but I don't think Mal really thought that Yoli was the right person. I think they were holding on to the relationship, but I don't think that Mal really felt like Yoli was the love of her life. I don't think so. Who knows what Yoli's motivations are at this point? So Mal goes on to say, and the things that I watched back, because at this point they've rewatched the show and they weren't able to see certain things. We were able to see them as viewers, but as participants on the actual show, they weren't able to see everything that we saw. So Mal was saying, this is hurtful, what I saw. A lot of dishonesty. And Yoli's in the corner like, what was so dishonest? I don't get it. You don't get it? Were you on a different show than the one we watched? Because, what? Like, what are you talking about? How was I dishonest? And Mal references the scene where they're all in a group. Yoli's like, just trust me. I just have a couple of things to say to Xander. And they're holding hands. And basically Xander's like, let's do this thing. And Yoli's like, yeah, basically like, yeah. Like, lovey-dovey while their girl is in the room. See, this is what I'm saying. Mal is better than me because I could never. But obviously Mal didn't know that because we were watching the show. Mal was in there in the room, like, being respectful. And I feel like it was such a big deal for Mal to even be so respectful to say, I trust you to be honest and faithful to me, and anything that you want to say to Xander, I trust you to say it. And honestly, she gave her trust to the wrong person. But I feel like she handled it the correct way, because I hate when partners micromanage their partners and they're like, you can't talk to this person. Basically how Lexi is to Ray. I hate when people do that, because it's like, if a person wants to cheat on you, they're gonna cheat on you regardless. So you don't have to be like hovering over them, because they're gonna do what they wanna do regardless. Do not do that, because I feel like you just make people feel trapped in when you do that. So I appreciate Mal for letting her go talk to Xander, but then this is what Yoli does. You know, makes her look like a fool on TV, and Mal mentions that, and I honestly can't blame her for being upset with her about it. Mal is saying, it's not even about us being in a relationship, but as a friend, I didn't think you would lie to me like this. And that's really hurtful, because when you feel like a person that you're with is also your friend, you expect more from them, more honesty from them. And it really sucks that Mal had to deal with this. You know, Yoli's like, I know it sucks seeing me and Xander be in love. And she's like, actually, seeing two people be in love is beautiful. That's not the part that sucks. The part that sucks is that you lied to me, which, duh. Right? She says, it was very cute, like you guys really deserved a chance to try. And Vanessa pipes in and she's like, they did try. And she's like, no, I mean out in the wild. And she's like, they did try out in the wild. And then so Vanessa is telling this new piece of information to Mal about Xander and Yoli meeting up after the show and planning to go to Hawaii together. And Yoli in the corner is upset, like, oh, you couldn't wait to tell her that. And it's like, Yoli, you're not in the right here. You don't have the same leverage that you did during the show when you and Lexi were like the good girls and people thought of you highly. No, people don't think of you like that now that they've seen the show. So you getting on Vanessa's case doesn't make you look good. Actually, Vanessa looks like an angel compared to you right now, especially because Vanessa is very apologetic about everything that she's done. And she seems like she's grown as a person. And here you are, making a fool out of Mal and not telling her certain things. So Vanessa says, yeah, you guys made a trip to go to Hawaii. She's like, Hawaii? Was I going to Hawaii? She's like, I don't remember that. Vanessa's very calm and poised, and she says to Xander, can you confirm that? And Xander's like, well, yeah, we did talk about you coming out and possibly coming to Hawaii. And she's like, oh, yeah, I forgot. No, what you forgot is that Xander wasn't gonna have your back in this lie. You didn't forget anything. Excuse me? The way you said absolutely not, I'm not going to Hawaii, you thought Xander was really gonna have your back, right? No. Apparently, that was really funny to me because I was like, you got caught. I'm like, you just look like a liar now. Like, terrible news for you. You look like a straight up liar. It's so embarrassing, legitimately. Apparently, they did also meet up at Coachella, and for some reason, they were very quiet about what they did, how their relationship went, because they were like in love during the show. So you would think that after the show, if things didn't work out with Mal, you would think that she would like jump to go meet Xander. So I'm really curious to know what happened. I know it's not any of our business, but they're on reality TV, so I want to know like what happened when they got together, because they were both very quiet about it, like eerily quiet about it. I'm like, what happened between the two of you? Honestly, like what happened? Like, did you guys get in a fight? Maybe they weren't as compatible when they actually met up. I don't know. They seemed like they would have made a really good couple, but honestly, in hindsight, they were both just really wanting someone to commit to them. And I don't know if that was actually being in love, because can you really fall in love with a person that quickly? I don't believe that you can, but I know that people do feel that way quite often. I feel like it takes some time to get to know a person to really feel like you're in love, because how do you really know if you're in love with the person if you've only known them for 3 weeks? You're in love with your perception of them, but you're not in love with the real them because you don't know the real them yet. Let's talk about Tiff and Mildred. I also want to put a trigger warning here. So this section is going to be talking about sensitive topics. There's going to be talk about domestic violence. So if that's something that's triggering to you, you might not want to listen to this part of the review. Tiff and Mildred, last time we saw them, they were engaged on the beach, which I was screaming at the TV, no, why are you guys getting engaged? And on the couch, there seems to be a lot of energy between Mildred and Tiff, and we don't know what it's really about because we haven't seen them in so long, but the host asked them what happened, and basically Mildred is saying that there was the cloud of uncertainty came back. I asked to do certain things like have a joint bank account and all of these other things that would solidify that they're actually joining in a union, and she said that never happened. So she felt like, why propose to me if we're not going to really take the next steps to really join ourselves together like married people would? Mildred is mentioning all these things and setting up the story of what Tiff did, and said that Tiff didn't have a job and that Tiff asked to split the rent 3 ways because she had a child, which I do think is crazy if that's what Tiff said. I mean, obviously, if you move in with somebody, you need to be financially responsible. So Mildred is saying, like, I feel like I got financially taken advantage of. And I feel like that is a little crazy, but like, this is also just coming from Mildred's mouth. So it's not like anybody can verify this information. Tiff is saying it didn't happen that way. I'm not really sure how rent would get split 3 ways if somebody didn't bring it up, but honestly, there is so much more important things that happen later that kind of make you even forget about that. Basically, she says, I got arrested in my home because I threw a picture frame and the glass shattered everywhere. And I'm like, okay, like you threw a picture frame and the glass shattered everywhere. That's not something that I would do in a relationship, but I definitely have heard of people who have crazy things like that happen in their relationships. And I feel like for me personally, there's no place for that in my relationships. Like, absolutely not. But then she takes it a step further and she says that she threw a pet gate. At first, it was hard for me to understand what she said because I didn't have the closed captionings on, but I didn't realize that she threw a pet gate. I thought she said she threw a peg or something like that. And I was like, why are you throwing things in general? When I realized that she said she threw a pet gate, I was like, you threw a pet gate at a person? That is crazy. It was like, and I was arrested and they took my ring and I never put it back on. And Yoli is looking like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened to you. Like, excuse me, did you not hear her say that she threw all these things? You didn't hear her say that Tiff threw things at her and that's why she did it. She didn't say that. It wasn't like a mutual fighting back and forth. I mean, I think that people probably assume that by their reactions, but she basically said that she was provoked because Tiff called her a trash mom and like other insults. For me personally, it doesn't matter what somebody says with their words. That is never an excuse for you to get physical with them. That is never an excuse to get physical with them. It doesn't matter what they say with their words. They say something nasty to you, you can say something nasty back, or you can walk away. At no point should you be throwing objects at people. That is never an option for me. I mean, I get it, people are raised differently, but like nothing gives you the right to ever put your hands on another person. Ever, 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 ever. And I really feel for Tiff because I feel like that's very traumatic. And honestly, it's really sad because Mildred is still so indignant about the whole situation. She's like, yeah, because Tiff did this. And it's like, where is your remorse for throwing this stuff? I feel like Mildred wants us to feel more upset about the fact that she got arrested because Tiff called the cops. Tiff called the cops because you were engaging in dangerous behavior that was endangering their safety. Mildred is a femme, so I feel like she definitely got different treatment. I think that like if that was a man saying they did that, everyone would be like, excuse me, you did what? They would immediately see it as domestic violence. I don't know why nobody really saw it like that. Like when I say nobody, I'm talking about like the people who were filming, the cast. Like you guys had the opportunity to probably interview them before they came on the show because you don't just go into these things without practice, right? So like they tell what happened and why they broke up. I'm sure they don't get into every little nitty-gritty detail, but I'm sure they give them a synopsis of why they broke up. So for them to have that information and to not think of it as domestic violence, I'm like, why? Because it's two women. It happens a lot, and I think that it happens more because they feel like, hey, I can fight you because you are the same gender as me. But it's still unacceptable. It really is. It looks like in this situation that Mildred really is the aggressor. I mean, we don't have any full information, so you hate to make blanket statements. Mildred definitely looks like the aggressor in this situation. And I think it's really sad that she's not apologetic. I think it's even worse Netflix isn't holding her to task on this. They definitely need to address this. They absolutely need to address this. And I do feel bad because you can see that Tiff is clearly triggered. Like they are clearly triggered. They have to walk out of this scene because after Mildred confesses to engaging in this nasty behavior, this deplorable behavior that should never be done to another human being, she just goes on to say, and this is what you did wrong, and this is what you did wrong, and this is what you did wrong. And her tone, she's very demeaning. And honestly, I feel like I owe Aussie a little bit of an apology for how hard I was going on them in that last video. Yes, they are extremely avoidant, but if this is how Mildred is acting and has been acting the entire time and you felt like your safety was in jeopardy, I don't blame you for not wanting to have that conversation with her. Aussie could probably feel that Mildred was gonna escalate. Even when Mildred was calm, I feel like Aussie could probably sense that Mildred was gonna go from here to here. And honestly, I cannot blame Aussie for not wanting to be a part of that. And then Mildred also brings up this point that she says, oh, and Tiff didn't bond with my son. I feel like Mildred is trying to say all of these things about Tiff to make her look like the bad person, even after admitting to committing like domestic violence on Tiff. So I feel like she's just trying to say all these things to say, and look at what Tiff did. Tiff wasn't even able to bond with my son. Mildred's child has special needs. Not everybody is used to dealing with special needs children. I actually have a lot of experience with special needs children. They're very precious. I love them, but not everybody knows exactly how to work with them. Most of the general population are not exposed to people that have different abilities, that think differently, that learn differently, that communicate differently. You cannot blame Tiff for that. That's your child. That's not Tiff's child. I'm sure Tiff was trying the best that they could to make a bond with your child. And even in those past scenes, Tiff was like, I really want to make sure that Mildred's son is a part of our lives. And I thought, wow, that is so sweet. I was like, how sweet of you to think of when you marry Mildred, you're going to be also marrying her son in a sense. And that there's going to be a possibility that her son is going to live with you guys until adulthood. And for Tiff to be ready for that and to have such an open heart to think that, yes, I'm going to accept this person, I thought that was really awesome. So for Mildred to try to throw that back in Tiff's face, I'm like, Mildred, shut up. Like, shut up, Mildred. Not only are you an abuser, you're also just trying to put more blame so you can gaslight Tiff. Her posture is so domineering. Like, it doesn't feel great. You know what I mean? It feels like Mildred just wants a fight. Like, she wants problems. Like, she wants problems always. She wants to get that type of reaction out of Tiff. And I honestly feel like she's satisfied with herself. And that's really sick. And I hope that Tiff is able to heal from that situation. I hope that Tiff is in a much better spot. I did see a couple of TikToks. Mildred is kind of talking about it and she's taking no accountability.
Hey guys, I want to talk to you guys about domestic violence. I've been getting a lot of message about how I was very courageous enough to go on national television and tell everybody my story about domestic violence arrest. It's not something to be taken lightly. I'm not proud of it. I have zero excuses for what I did. I own up and I take full ownership and full accountability of what happened that day. Say that to me, it did feel like an episode of reactive abuse. I've gotten a lot of therapy. I've gotten a lot of help. I've done a lot of anger management classes. I've done so much work and so much healing. I never want to ever feel like I want to remove somebody away from my life so much that I have to physically move them. I was living in a home with Tiff and Tiff would not leave my home. I was very stressed out. I had a lot of financial responsibility on my back. And on top of that, you know, Tiff did degrade me as a mother, called me a trash mom, also threatened to call CPS because I wasn't a fit mom for my son. And all of those things triggered me to break in a picture frame with our photo on it. And also me throwing, yes, a heavy pet gate at Tiff.
She's really not taking accountability for it. And I'm like, wow, you really want us to think that it's not you, but it really seems like it is her. Obviously, none of us were there besides the both of them, but come on. Let's be serious, Mildred. It's embarrassing. And you have a child. You act like this and you have a child. When you have a child, they should be your first priority. It really doesn't make you look like a good mom. You're over here throwing gates at people when you have a child to take care of. You did something that you put your life in jeopardy and someone else's life in jeopardy, and essentially put your whole son's life in jeopardy as well, because who is going to take care of your son if you go to jail because you're out here throwing things at people that you have no business even touching another person? That's so despicable. Like, grow up. Sam is the sweetheart that she always is. Sam is such a sweet, sweet, sweet girl. Like, she is so sweet. She goes after Tiff when Tiff runs out because they're upset about having to relive these situations and having Mildred berate them. And, you know, she goes after Tiff just to console her. And you know, I really feel like that's what a real friend would do. So good on Sam, honestly. Nobody else did that. Nobody else in the cast even thought to get up and see if Tiff was okay. Like, why? I also really think it's disgusting that the producers were like, are you gonna come back in? Why do you want Tiff to come back in after what they just had to endure? I feel like at this point, Tiff probably could have put a restraining order on Mildred. Probably thinking it's just girls throwing things at each other. Excuse me? Anytime somebody endangers anyone else's body, that is assault. What are we talking about here? And in a relationship, that's domestic violence. Like, what are we talking about here? Huh? Are you gonna come back in? Why do you want Tiff to come back in? For your ratings? After Sam consoles Tiff, basically Tiff goes home and they start talking about Sam and Aussie's relationship. I was really surprised that of all the couples that Sam and Aussie were together. Honestly, they were very tight-lipped about their whole situation. I think that Sam said something about Aussie not realizing that after they got engaged, that they're actually gonna have to take the next step and really get married. Like, getting engaged is one step, but you know, I don't think Aussie was ready for necessarily the real possibility of getting married, but they seem to be happy, but they also seem to be kind of tight-lipped about it. I think that they decided that they were not going to air any of their dirty laundry on camera. Like, that's how I feel, you know, because they were like, yeah, let's not embarrass each other. Aussie has still not told their family about the engagement or even about Sam. So I'm like, Aussie, you're still not out to your family? Like, by the time you're engaged, don't you think that you should tell your family about this? Is that really growth in the relationship? You're still hiding. Now you're hiding. You were hiding your girlfriend. Now you're hiding your fiance. I'm like, at this point, I think you guys should have moved past that. I honestly wonder if Aussie is still dealing with running away and not being able to communicate. Like, they kind of said that they kind of try to deal with each other. Sam tries to give Aussie more space and Aussie tries to stay in that uncomfortable space and have those uncomfortable conversations. But I wonder how much progress is really happening. They seem to be happy, so like I said, who am I? I don't really feel like they're gonna end up getting married, but I don't know. I really wonder, are they gonna get married in the future? I really don't know, because I just don't see Aussie changing. I don't. After the show, we see that Ray and Lexi actually end up breaking up, and Lexi actually has a new girlfriend who I saw on TikTok. They look cute together or whatever, but I was surprised, kind of. Actually, I wasn't surprised. I was surprised that they were still together on the reunion because she didn't want to make that proposal. We can all tell that she didn't want to get married. Like, we could all tell. So I'm not really surprised that they didn't end up getting together, and I wouldn't be surprised if Sam and Aussie end up breaking up too. Honestly, it's for the best. I don't think they were very well suited for each other. I think they both needed something different. So that's pretty much it for the review. Let me know in the comments down below if you had any surprises or if any couples that stay together, if you were surprised about that. Let me know all that good stuff in the comments down below. Let's have a discussion. And if you enjoyed the video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. See you guys in the next one. Bye.